Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the CD guy, Johnny Z here. Thank you so much for tuning back into the channel, and today it's time for part 1 of the 700 subscriber special. I'm going to be counting down 10 perfect classic rock albums with no weak songs. Kicking us off here with my number 10, I'm going to go with Who's Next by The Who from 1971. And, the classic lineup of Roger Daltrey, Pete Townsend, John Entwistle, and Keith Moon released a number of great records, but in my opinion, this one has to be right up top for one of the all-time best Who albums here. Obviously, you have some of the most famous and best-known tracks like Baba O'Reilly, Behind Blue Eyes. I won't get fooled again on here, but there's also some really underrated tracks such as Bargain, Love Ain't for Keeping, My Wife, This Song Is Over, Getting in Tune, Going Mobile as well. So some great underrated tracks in here as well. Produced by The Who, it's a fantastic record, and in my opinion, one of their best with no bad songs on it. Nothing skippable here in my opinion. So coming in at number 10, I'm going to go with 1971's Who's Next by The Who. Following that up with my number 9 here on the list, I'm going to go with Self-Titled by Van Halen from 1979. Their debut record, and, you could not put together a better debut album that better showcases the talents of all four guys than what Van Halen did here on their debut. One of the most important rock debuts of all time, in my opinion, with timeless Van Halen tracks like Running with the Devil, Eruption, You Really Got Me is a great cover. Ain't Talking About Love, I'm the One, Jamie's Crying, which is one of my all-time favorite Van Halen tracks as well. So just some killer songs after killer songs here on this debut album, produced by Ted Templeman. It's a great record, and like I said, a perfect debut. Coming in at number 9 here on the list, I gotta go with Self-Titled by Van Halen from 1979. Next to number 8, I'm going to go with The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars by David Bowie. This is the album that really marked Bowie coming into his own as a musician here and beginning to break through into commercial success here with this record. It's all killer, no filler, and I'd say it's probably David Bowie's best-known record, and, for good reason as well, right? With tracks on here like 5 Years, Moon Age Daydream, Starman, It Ain't Easy, Lady Stardust, Hang On to Yourself, Ziggy Stardust, Suffragette City, which is one of my all-time favorite Bowie tracks, then Rock and Roll Suicide, an excellent way to close out the album here. It's a perfect record from beginning to end, in my opinion. Definitely deserving of a spot here on the list, and arguably Bowie's best-known record, one of my all-time favorites from him, and absolutely essential listening from one of the all-time best in David Bowie. So, that said, coming in at number 8 here, I'm going to go with The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. Prog rock legends King Crimson burst onto the scene with their debut record In the Court of the Crimson King, an observation by King Crimson, which would help to pioneer the prog rock genre, and in my opinion, is one of their all-time best, an absolute prog essential with some incredible tracks like 21st Century Schizoid Man, I Talk to the Wind, Epitaph, Moonchild, and then of course the title track, The Court of the Crimson King. An incredible album from beginning to end. I love the musicianship here on this record. Robert Fripp is an absolute genius, and his musical prowess definitely does shine through on this record in a major way. An incredible debut album here by King Crimson, and also has an iconic album cover as well. Great work here by the band. Like I said, it's one of my favorites from them, and definitely deserving of a spot on the list. A perfect record from beginning to end. Coming in at number 7, I'm going to go with In the Court of the Crimson King, an observation by King Crimson. Sticking with the theme of perfect debut albums here for my number 6, I'm going to go with 1987's Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses. And, there's a reason why all these years later, at least 50% of this album is played on classic rock radio. It's because of the tracks on here like Welcome to the Jungle, Night Train, Out to Get Me, Mr. Brownstone, Paradise City, Sweet Child of Mine, My Michelle, and Rocket Queen. This record would catapult the band into astronomical superstardom, and in just a matter of years, they would go from playing nightclubs to selling out stadiums, and I think a lot of that does have to be attributed to the success here of Appetite, an album in which you can really hear the hunger and aggression in the band, and you can see the guys on the back here. Young GNR absolutely outdid themselves here with what I think is still their best record all these years later. Their perfect debut album from 1987, Appetite for Destruction, my number 6 on the list. Moving on now into the top 5, I'm going to go with Exile on Main Street by the Rolling Stones. And, with this album, there's such an infectious energy about it. And I think it's all killer, no filler, which is very hard to do on a double album. But the Stones absolutely delivered here with one of their all-time best efforts, and an album that's been regarded by many as one of their best albums. So, it's hard to disagree with that, with great tracks like Rocks Off, Rip This Joint, Shake Your Hips, Casino Boogie, Tumbling Dice, Torn and Frayed, Sweet Black Angel as well. You got Happy on here, Turd on the Run, Ventilator Blues, just some great tracks on here from beginning to end. This album is stacked. Like I said, all killer, no filler, which is very difficult on a double album, but the Stones absolutely delivered here. So coming in at number 5, kicking us off in the top 5, I have to go with Exile on Main Street, one of their all-time best efforts. Coming in at number 4 now, I'm going to go with Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd from 1975, and this is a record that has quickly surpassed The Wall as my all-time favorite Pink Floyd Floyd record. It's so tight and concise. There's no room for any filler here, with great tracks throughout, like Shine On You Crazy Diamond, all parts, which are just incredible, and definitely one of my all-time favorite prog rock pieces. Also on here, you have Welcome to the Machine, Have a Cigar, which features a great collaboration with Roy Harper on vocals. The track really does fit his voice very well. Then the title track, Wish You Were Here, an absolute classic track here by Pink Floyd. All of these songs really are classics. The band outdid themselves on this record, in my opinion. An incredible album here by the band, and like I said, it surpassed The Wall as my favorite Pink Floyd album. Coming in at number 4 here on the list, I gotta go with Wish You Were Here from 1975. Moving on now into the top 3, I gotta go with Led Zeppelin IV from 1971, and you'd be hard-pressed to find a more perfect Led Zeppelin album in their catalog than this one right here. It's absolutely stacked from beginning to end. The songs here are structured really, really well, so the album has an incredible flow to it. Kicking things off, you have Black Dog, then you have Rock and Roll, The Battle of Evermore, Stairway to Heaven, Misty Mountain Hop, Four Sticks, the incredible acoustic track Going to California, then When the Levee Breaks to close things out. This album is amazing from beginning to end here. A perfectly stacked record, in my opinion, and I think it's Led Zeppelin's best work here, their best effort in the studio. So coming in at number 3, I'm going to go with Led Zeppelin IV from 1971. Next at number 2, I'm going to go with Back in Black by ACDC here from 1980. And, right around this time, the band were really at a crossroads following the death of Bon Scott. They weren't really sure whether or not they were going to continue with a new vocalist or retire following Bon's passing. Obviously, they decided to continue, recruiting Brian Johnson from Geordie, and, the difference here between the two different eras of the band is really surprising to me, because even though AC/DC maintained a similar sound on here, the ushering in of Brian Johnson to the band did mark the band taking their commercial success to the next level. Following their breakthrough album in Highway to Hell, the addition of Brian Johnson paid dividends here for the band, because I think Brian was a much more accessible frontman for the band, and that's definitely seen here on this album, which features some of their most commercially popular tracks, such as Hell's Bells, Shoot to Thrill, Back in Black, the title track, You Shook Me All Night Long, Have a Drink on Me as well, which are all songs played frequently on classic rock radio. There are some other deeper tracks on here that are great as well, such as What Do You Do for Money, Honey, Giving the Dog a Bone, Let Me Put My Love Into You, Shake a Leg, Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution as well. This album from beginning to end is incredible here, and the addition of Brian Johnson definitely did pay dividends for the band. Even though I'm more of a Bon Scott guy, and I do prefer the Bon era to the Brian Johnson era, you can't deny here this is a perfect album and an incredible comeback for AC/DC following the death of Bon Scott. Before we get to my number 1, I do have a handful of honorable mentions here, so some special recognition goes out to Moving Pictures by Rush, The Doors' self-titled debut, London Calling by The Clash, Deep Purple in Rock by Deep Purple, and then, of course, Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. All great albums here, perfect records in my opinion, but I can only fit 10 on the list here today. And finally, coming in at number 1, I gotta go with Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band by the Beatles. And, I've talked about this ad nauseum in the past, so I'm not going to spend too much time here on Sgt. Pepper, but just know this is my all-time favorite rock album here. It was my introduction to the Beatles as well, and I don't think there's a bad song on here. Right, you got tracks like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the title track, and the reprise later on as well, which are both great. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, With Little Help from My Friends, Getting Better, Fixing a Hole, She's Leaving Home, Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, When I'm 64, Within You Without You is a great psychedelic piece by George Harrison. Lovely Rita is fantastic as well. Good Morning is really fun. And then you have John Lennon's masterpiece, A Day in the Life, to close things out. A perfect album from beginning to end here by the Beatles. Like I said, I might be a little bit biased because this is my introduction to the band, but in my opinion, it doesn't get much better than this here. I gotta go with Sgt. Pepper at number 1 here. An absolutely perfect album by the Beatles. An incredible, incredible record. So that wraps up my list, counting down 10 perfect classic rock albums with no weak songs, which should be visible right over here. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below, turn on the bell for notifications to be notified of a new upload, and let me know down in the comments below, what are some other perfect rock albums that you think have no weak tracks? Let me know your opinions down below. I'd be very interested in hearing what you have to say, so let me know all that good stuff down in the comments. And until next time, it's the CD guy, Johnny Z, signing off. Take care, everybody.